Yeah, kia ora, I'm Jake Apirahama-Hini. I was born 19th of July 1989. I'm 32 years old. I'm a son, I'm a father, I'm a friend, I'm a recovering addict, and this is my story. Yeah, so I grew up in the central suburbs of Auckland. I went to Point Chef Primary. Some of the best days of my life, my best memories are there. Being a kid, zero responsibilities apart from having fun. My mum worked multiple jobs to put food on the table. She did everything she could to provide for me. Being an only child, I was very spoiled. Was pretty much given everything I wanted, and when I wasn't, I'd just pull the fat lip, and that would pretty much get me what I wanted. And I went to Northcote College over on the North Shore. I guess I just went with the flow, and I was kind of pressured by others that I was surrounded by, being my friends, and my grades started to drop. I started to wag because everyone else was wagging, and the whole time, my mum's still working multiple jobs, or working over 12 hours a day to put food on the table and pay rent. And here I am, the spoilt little boy that I was, just acting out and making a mockery of everything. I dropped out of school when I was 15. By then I was smoking cigarettes, and I'm pretty sure I had tried weed a couple times, and life was on my terms, on my will. And by the age of 16, I had smoked weed, tried ecstasy, done a few trips. I would drink till I drop, drink till I black out. I was already known in the court system, and I ended up in boys' home. Here I am, like a spoilt only child raised by his mum, pretty much a teddy bear, surrounded by boys that have had it a lot harder than me. I was in there for about 3 months. 2 days before I was meant to get out, I was told by my social worker that I actually had 3 more months to go, and I didn't like that news, so I ran away. And I went on another crime spree. But by 19, I went to jail for aggravated robbery. I was under the influence of alcohol, methamphetamine, and I was a very dark boy/man. I was given 6 months imprisonment and 9 months home detention. I spent my 21st birthday on home detention. The whole time struggling with my addiction, I got stoned every day. I did a few rehabilitation programs throughout. I wasn't really there to learn, I was just there to tick boxes, and it didn't really work. Well, there wasn't any religion in my life. I always looked at my mum like a hippie, she was real spiritual. She danced real funny, she was quite embarrassing. But there was never a God in my house. Back on mum's couch. Once again, back on mum's couch. No direction, not knowing what to do, eating all the food in the pantry, and expecting her to look after me. Being a mama's boy, only child. And a friend came over for a cup of tea, and she was in recovery, and she had quite a bit of time up, I think, a year or two. And she pretty much looked at me and said, "Bro, you're not looking good." She said, "You need help, you should come to a meeting." And I didn't know what a meeting was, but I was sick of sitting on the couch, and I smoked cigarettes at the time, and I had none, and she had plenty. So I said, if you supply the cigarettes, I'll come to a meeting. So I went to a meeting. It was on a Monday night, 7 p.m. out Massey. Well, throughout my addiction, I lived through many rock bottoms. They say, rock bottom is below the basement, and you can just keep digging, and that runs true for me. My recovery journey has been one of relapse. If you want to know how not to do it, hit me up, because I've done it every way that you shouldn't. My rock bottom was 26 months ago. 26 months and 8 days ago was my rock bottom. I was in a really toxic relationship. I was really toxic. I'd missed my daughter's 7th birthday party. I was a mess. I'd ripped off all my friends, ripped off all my family. I just had no hope. I was hopeless. I had nothing. I remember I reached out to John because I'd stolen my mum's car and spent all my money at the casino, and I couldn't get the car out of the car park. So I called John and I told him, and he came and rescued me. And looking back, John, you enabled me there a little bit, mate, but you know, Mum got her car back and I got out to use, but I wasn't ready. And I remember John looking at me when I was in the car, like thinking, oh, he's judging me, you know, like, but John never judged me, you know. He was a good man. He is a good man. But I think he was looking at me and saying, he's not ready. And he was right, if he was thinking that. I don't know what you're thinking, John, but I wasn't ready. I had to dig a little deeper. And I did. I dug real deep, and yeah, I'd ripped everyone off. I was in a state. I was gaunt, I was skinny, I was messy, I was a shell of a man. I had no confidence. I would hide in the darkness, you know. I just had no faith in myself. I was broken. And I remember telling my old associates, you know, my old friends, the ones I'd hang around with, I'm going to get an Airbnb on K Road to clean up. You know, it wasn't an Airbnb, it was a hostel. But it was on the Airbnb website, but it was dingy and dark, and it wasn't the right place to clean up, and I just went harder. I remember drinking myself to oblivion and walking the streets of town, just like not knowing where I was going and no direction. Yeah, I was under the influence of Waz back then, that fantasy drug, and I remember pouring myself a drink and saying, hopefully this is the last one. You know, hopefully I don't have to live this life that I live any longer. Hopefully this will take me out. And haven't thought about that in a while. Yeah, I remember pouring that drink and just hoping that I'd die, you know. I drank that drink and I hit the road and I went on my non-jolly way, and I ended up on Hopetown Bridge, top of Spaghetti Junction, on the railing, with my legs dangling over, looking down, you know, like seeing the cars hoon past, just out of my mind, just like, oh, smoking a cigarette, you know, like thinking, just drop, just let go, it'll all be over. I remember I had my foot in between the poles, you know, like that was my only grip on life, you know, like holding on. And everything was just free to fall, and I was so out of it. They say higher power moments, they say God moments. It was a moment. A car tooted behind me. I was so out of it, and I heard this, "Oh, Jake, you egg." I went, oh, and I turned around, and you know, and my first meeting was in Massey, 7 p.m. on a Monday night, and there was a guy at that meeting who had a bit of clean time up, and you know, here I am about to end my own life, and that guy was the one beeping and saying, "Jake, you egg, what are you up to?" And he wasn't clean, but he was there, and he saved my life, you know. He literally calling me an egg saved my life. I hopped in his car. He offered me a deal because he wasn't clean. I don't think I understood that he saved my life, and I don't think he understood that he saved it either, but I went back to my dingy Airbnb/hostel. I didn't have much drugs, pretty much had nothing left, you know, and the daylight came. I saw my ex-partner for the last time that morning, and then I reached out to my mum, and mum came and picked me up. She saw how broken I was, and she said I needed help. I reached out. My mum didn't want me no more. Tough love was the winner in the end. She locked the door on me, her only son. Said, I can't have you here, and that broke my heart. And I remember just crying, you know, just crying, you know, outside my mum's house, screaming at the world, screaming at the world, screaming at God. Where are you, you know? Why are you doing this to me? And I'd reached out to Glennie. She said, I'll come and pick you up. You know, I had a choice in that moment, you know, like I could go back to the trap, to what I've always done, you know, and go use, or I could sit here in my emotions, you know, in my brokenness, and my tears and sweat and just shame and guilt and wait. And I did that, and she turned up, and she, you know, lovely Glennie, oh, sorry I took so long, you know, my phone ran out of battery. I was thinking, how'd you find the place? And she said, I don't know, I got here. It was crazy. And I said, I surrender, you know, I need help. And I was helped from that day forward. Looking back at that time, you know, 25 months ago, I remember there were moments, you know, like I was humbled, like I had no car. I catch the bus. I caught the bus to town to like sort out my fines or something. And I remember it was like a beautiful day, and it was like a double-decker bus. Like I hadn't been on one of them. Like I didn't even know they existed. And it had like a USB charging port for your phone. I didn't have a phone. I was like, what? You know, like I can't even charge my phone on this double-decker bus. But we were going over the harbour bridge, and it was a beautiful day. And like I just remember, I was real happy. I had like nothing, and I was real happy. I was real grateful. And I spoke to God, and you know, He spoke to me, and I don't know, I felt like this sense of warmth, like you're doing the right thing, Jake, you're in the right place, and that was a nice feeling, you know. I guess in that warmth I felt the hug of a dad, you know, like I never had a dad growing up, and there was always that hole, but I remember that day, like it was real vivid, like everything just fell into place. But yeah, since then, like I just kept up the meetings. Every day I'd surrender, you know, like I give up, like this is my will, take it, show me how to live clean. I mean, I've come a long way from Hopetown Bridge. And when I stop and think about Hopetown Bridge, I can go back to how broken I was, you know. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that's a really good thing. And being a part of a church and working with a church has actually strengthened my connection with God. You know, like that moment I had on the bus, I can think of many more moments like that, you know, like even saying grace at the table, you know, with my family is a moment with God. I grew up in a house, like I said, there was no God. So it's like introducing God into my life. It helps me with my connection with God. You know, we're all children of God. I'm a child of God, and I've been a pretty hard child to care for, you know. And I mean, God has always showed me relentless love. There have been so many moments where I shouldn't have walked out of there, you know. God was there. It wasn't your time, Jake. I'm not ready to let go of you yet. I'm not ready to take you into the kingdom, you know. you've still got some work to do down here on earth, and so many moments. He's always had faith in me when I've had no faith in myself. And I guess now through the work that I do, you know, I'm working with teenagers, doing God's work, you know. They do my head in, but I have to love them, you know, until they learn to love themselves, and I have to like help them through the journey that they've started, you know. Some of them are going off the rails, and I can relate to that. Like I went off the rails, I ended up in boys' home, and I can see where it's going for them, you know. So I've got to be relentless, but I've got to be relentless in a way that I show love, and I do that through the way that God showed me love relentlessly.